I'm with Mitch Shoesmith today, big YouTuber. You'll have seen him before. We're going to go over a few questions, understand what he's investing in, why he's investing in it, and what his ultimate goal is. Welcome to the channel, Mitch.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much.
Right, first of all, what is your investment strategy and what is it you're trying to do in terms of your investment approach?
So my investment strategy is predominantly long-term broad market ETF investing. I do have some individual stock holdings as well, but for the most part, I try to operate with the kind of core satellite strategy that some of you guys may have heard of, where the core part of my portfolio is, like I say, broad market ETFs, and then I have some satellite positions which are in some higher conviction individual stocks, which, if I'm honest, I've held for quite a few years now, and I'm actually not actively investing in them as of right now. So that is predominantly the strategy. It's a long-term strategy that I'm focused on, just essentially buying into a piece of the global market of the most profitable and innovative, get that word out, companies on the planet, and I plan to do so for probably the next couple of decades at least.
Is that the approach that you've always taken since the beginning?
So my strategy has probably changed a little bit over time. So when I first started out investing, I read a book from Tony Robbins called Money Master the Game, and in 2017 I opened an account with Vanguard. And at the time I was investing in an S&P 500 ETF because I think at the time, for me personally, that was like the place to be, the place to invest in, the market that was growing the quickest. But then I also had like some other holdings, like had a life strategy fund with Vanguard, and I think I had like a bond holding as well off the top of my head, predominantly because I thought bonds were like a low risk investment, and that's what I should have been investing in, rather than, you know, taking the approach of like truly understanding what my risk appetite is.
But you can't predict the market, can you? Because the thing is, even when you started in that 4 years ago, you didn't know. How many years ago?
About 9 years ago now.
9 years ago?
Yeah, 2017.
Right, well, 2017. So you didn't know at that time that we're going to have the biggest bull run in the last 20 years. So at that time, that was probably the right thing to do. I mean, in hindsight, it's always easy to look back and go, oh, I wish I invested in this, I wish I invested in that. But you still got 4 or 5% in the time you were in that. You potentially missed out on 10%, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
It's like saying right now, oh, you know, there's a lot of people saying, oh, just move completely into bonds because the next 10 years are going to see minus return. No one bloody knows if that's going to be the case or not. So at the time, for yourself, that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And did you do individual positions at the beginning as well?
So no, not at the beginning. It probably took me about 3 years or so to like build a little bit of confidence, and then in like 2020, I opened an account with Trading 212 and thought I would try like individual stock picking. Why, I guess? Maybe to try and outperform the market was probably my mentality at the time, if I'm honest. And in fairness, it probably for the most part worked out. I also made some mistakes and invested in some really terrible stocks. I've also got to add that in. Most of the positions did well, but some of them did really poorly. And then more recently, I've gone more back into like broad market investing over the last like 2-3 years maybe.
All right, perfect. Right, well, that brings us on to the next question. This is going to be the most interesting one. Let's have a look over your portfolio then.
Okay. Let me whip it out, guys.
That's what she said. Whoa, 6 figures. Go on then, take us through.
Right, so portfolio itself is valued at just over £110,000 as of right now. Over like the last quarter or so, we seem to have had like a huge amount of growth in the portfolio. I don't really know where all that's come from, just market gains on the whole. More generally, in terms of the portfolio holdings itself, I've got them separated into 4 separate pies actually. I've got some individual stocks, which the total position is up 195%. I have sold quite a few of those positions as well. Obviously, not financial advice based on what you are about to see.
Massively unbalanced, not bothered about that?
No, I don't use the rebalance feature, if I'm honest.
No, I get that question a lot, is also. You don't think it's important either?
Not that it's not important. I think at the time I'd like invested into these positions based on what I was comfortable with, like the amounts, and then I imported them into a pie at a later date. So the actual rebalancing feature, if you like, is like almost less relevant. I do try and sell the positions based on like roughly a guide of what I want to hold in each position, but I'm not too like anal about it, if I can say that. So the individual positions, some of them have performed phenomenally well. AMD and Palantir probably the standout performers. Obviously like semiconductor and big AI plays. Amazon not too well though in terms of if you compare it against the global market, that position has probably underperformed.
Just go back into that. Let's have a look at that. So you got Palantir's up nearly 500%.
Yeah.
Was that a proper strategic investment? Did you,
Yeah.
or is that a bit of luck?
Yeah, I think with all these investments, there's an element of luck to them, right? We never know what's going to happen in the future to all of these different companies. Palantir at the time was also like a much smaller company. When I invested in it, it was literally just after the IPO that I started investing in it, which again was a high risk play on my part. And I actually discovered the company because I'm a massive F1 fan, and they were one of the sponsors for Ferrari back in the day. So that's where I discovered the company, and Palantir do a lot of like the AI simulations and strategies for F1 teams, and that's what got me interested into the stock. I did some research and then decided to invest a little bit of money into them.
So all of these individual positions are up massively, massively. You've done it absolutely phenomenally. Are you still adding to them now?
No, I don't add them to them now. I think that's predominantly because for me, I've shifted my approach to just like broad market ETF investing. Individual stocks had its place for me 5 years ago-ish, or 6 years ago. I invested in a lot of these companies as the market also crashed in like 2020, so I got in at more favourable prices. Whereas for me now, I'm just more focused on like global ETFs.
So you've picked some bangers in 2020 and you've kept them, and that's how you've got those results, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Move on to the next one.
So the next position is in an S&P 500 ETF. Again, this is an older position that I had, which I've just kept in the portfolio. Same with the individual stocks as well, to be fair. Again,
and that's up 44%.
Yeah, so that position I invested in, I don't know, it's probably been a couple of years since I've invested in the S&P 500 ETF. But again, just on the same thesis, really. Of like,
did you see the Diary of the CEO? You won't have seen it, but there was a guy on Diary of the CEO. I've had millions of comments about it.
Yeah.
I bet you have as well.
Recently?
Yeah. The older guy saying it's going to crash and everyone needs to go ex-US. Now, one of the things, I'll cover it now because I've had so many questions about it that I haven't answered, is one of the things about him is he's predicted like 50 of the last 2 crashes.
Yeah,
he's one of these guys.
Yeah.
At one point, he even says in the podcast, we lost 50% of assets under management because in 2020 we moved everyone into bonds.
Yeah.
And the market went up like 19% per year for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So he lost 50% of his business because he's such a bear. Now, I've had so many people so concerned about it. He's saying move completely out of the S&P 500. He knows as much. I mean, he's very intelligent. He's been in the industry for years, but he doesn't know what's going to happen next.
No.
So I still hold similar amount to you in the S&P 500. It is noise as far as I'm concerned. There's always going to be someone get out of it. Someone to say get out of it.
Yeah, I mean every year, every month probably you'll be able to find a news article that says like stock market's going to crash, S&P 500 is overvalued, it's too concentrated. There's always going to be some narrative to give you a reason why not to invest, and I think that goes for probably most investments.
Have you ever read Simple Path to Wealth by J.L.?
I don't think I have.
Oh, it's a great book. But the problem with the book is when I got to the end of it, I was like, it's basically an advert for the S&P 500. I was like, that's all I ever need to do. It is a great book, worth checking out, but take it with a pinch of salt.
Okay, and then the last holding which I am able to cover in this portfolio is my global position. Again, it's just a Vanguard all-world fund, just for the reasons that I said earlier in the video.
Now, you must get this question as well a lot, because I get it all the time. Why Vanguard over Invesco? Why Vanguard over iShares?
For me personally, there's a couple of things. Firstly, it's the fund that I very first invested in over on the Vanguard platform, which I shared earlier. And then when I first opened my Trading 212 portfolio, again, just from a familiarity perspective, that was the one that I'd started with and then therefore continued with. There's also a bit of brand reputation there as well. They're one of the biggest asset managers on the planet, so there's a bit of security there from that perspective. They're pretty much the reasons why. But I do know there are other funds.
Yeah, I don't overcomplicate. If you're getting into an old world, that's all that matters. The reason I keep touching his phone, by the way, is because if it goes to sleep, the screen recording stops. Right, is that everything in your portfolio?
That's everything that I can touch on today, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple I can't talk about as well. Right, last question then. Why? So you've been doing this now for 9 years. You must have at the beginning, and perhaps your goals have changed over that time. What is it you're actually trying to achieve by investing?
So I think for me, without sounding like too philosophical, for me, investing has always been about some degree of financial independence, where you are in a position where your investments allow you to own your own time. I think that's probably the most important thing for me, and that's the reason why I do it. I don't buy into the narrative of like you work for like 50 years to get a pension and then you get like 10 years if you're lucky kind of thing. For me, investing has always been about getting ahead financially, and then hopefully, reaping the rewards from that in a couple of decades, 3 decades from now. Maybe not 3 decades because that would put me at 60, but like 2 decades from now, like when I'm in my 50s, retire early with hopefully a decent pension pot, or use that as a decent pension pot until I can draw from my pension. That's the reason for me.
So 50 is where you're aiming for. 20 years, 20 years, if we see similar growth, you must have been on calculator site and stuff. If we see similar growth at 20 years on that portfolio and with your contributions, what have you worked out it might be worth?
I've worked out if I never invest another penny into my Trading 212 portfolio and I continue to invest £1,000 a month, assuming average market returns, which of course, past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results and all that kind of stuff.
I can tell he's a YouTuber, he's done his compliance course.
Done my research. Then the portfolio will be worth about just over £700,000. I think that was by the age I was 55. I think I worked that out to be on a compound calculator. You can fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the number.
All right, perfect. Thanks for answering those questions, Mitch.
Good, man.
You can find Mitch Shoesmith on YouTube under that name. You probably already know him. And he's also on Instagram. Any other platforms?
No, just those two.
Those are the two. Right, thanks, mate.
Thanks very much.